I'm thrilled to be joined in this session with Dennis Cockrell, CEO, founder of EIT Networks. And Dennis, I know you super well by this point, and I would love to highlight the fact that you've been on the MSP Experience Lounge with us. You've been on Robert Chiaffe's Game Changers series as one installment, and I have been thrilled and so happy to see you at a number of conferences and just on the road quite a bit this year. We've hung out in all kinds of locations, and you hail from Greenville, South Carolina, I believe. And would you just love to do a self-interview? Introduction, rather, please.
Yeah. Thanks, Bryce. I appreciate it. It's good to see you again today as well. So I am Dennis Cockrell. I own and operate EIT Networks. Started it in 2011. I was with a previous MSP before that, running their operations in this area. They were out of state. Then started this firm in 2011 with a hope and a prayer and a cashed out 401k and one client, and just kind of grew it from there. It's quite the story, but yeah, we're in Greenville, South Carolina, here in the upstate. Most of our business is here, but we operate all across the United States with some of our clients.
Absolutely. Excellent. And when we sat down, I think at the MSP Experience Lounge and just chatted, we kind of got on this topic. And so as we got closer and closer to the summit and we're planning sessions, we're like, we've got to get Dennis back on. We've really got to take that to the next level of that story. You talked about kind of this amazing journey that a lot of partners and MSPs dream of going from break fix to an MSP to an MSSP. Maybe let you start over and kind of walk through that a little bit. And you had this real wake-up call as part of that process there.
Yeah. So we started out, pretty much, well, my very first effort into starting an IT company was pretty much you build it and they come. It was a retail shop with a storefront and all that stuff. And it was way before managed services was even a term. That didn't go so well. That was a learning experience. But that's a whole other story in itself. But yeah, back in 2011, started as pretty much as a managed service provider at that point, but it was just doing the traditional, type stuff, backup, disaster recovery, antivirus, help desk, that kind of thing. And that's pretty much how we ran our MSP for at least about 8 years. And then, like you said, there wasn't a lot of change. We weren't really iterating. We weren't keeping pace with the market. We weren't staying in the community like we are today, and it was all to our detriment. And then, like you said, there came a point in time where we realized things have to change.
Excellent. And I know that one of those sessions, and can you remind us what kind of peer communities or sort of what shows you go to that we draw a lot out? I remember you saying Robert Chiaffe, and his experience was really good for you.
I think, and to Robert's credit, I think he's provided a really good service to our community in that regard. But yeah, I think I called maybe one of his, if not his first, one of his first sessions on this. It was shortly after, I think it was in 2022. So it was shortly after the 2021 event occurred for him. And then in 2022, I think we were at the ConnectWise conference, and he had a breakout session going through that whole ordeal. And it hit very deeply with me. Coming out of, you got to remember, 2020, we're going through COVID. Everything's kind of changing. The world as we know it is changing. On a personal note, my wife was going through breast cancer battle at the time, and there were a lot of uncertainties for me. And so it had me doing some inventory already. And then I caught his session at the conference, and pretty much walked away with a confirmation of those things that were keeping me up late at night anyway. Like, what would happen to us if the same thing that happened to him happened to us? We wake up tomorrow morning and all of our clients are ransomed. Step one, what's our first step? And I realized we didn't have it. We didn't have a written plan. We didn't have anything like that. And we really weren't prepared. And that got me thinking even deeper about the services that we offer, and how do we be resilient? How do we help our clients be resilient in the face of something like that? Because it's not really a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. So we did a lot of introspection. Our team got together. We started running through our checklist of, okay, let's just go through it. Let's simulate what has happened to us. We got with the phones ringing off the hook. What do we do? What's our first step? And so, do we have a communication plan? Do we have a way, to restore things? And are we confident in the way that we restore things? Do we have a written plan so we could scale? Because you got to remember, if that happens to an MSP, like most of us MSPs, we force multiply. If all of our clients go down at once, there is absolutely no way. We'd be swamped. Even some of the largest MSPs would be swamped with that kind of sudden demand. And so do you have a written documented process that you can call in external support, you can partner with those who are willing to partner with you, and you can really scale your recovery efforts quickly? And of course, we realized we didn't have any of that. So we went to the drawing board to develop it and test it and make it muscle memory. And that's what we've done.
Incredible. So many facets to doing it right, to your point, not just doing it right for one client, but all the way across into being able to scale and interface with outside talent. And so fast forward to today, and this is what we're here to talk about, is how to confidently sell security to SMBs. And not only have you learned how to do that, not only have you scaled your business and made that operationally successful and viable, and you can do that and grow, but you now have sort of the sales motion to accompany it. So if we can kind of backtrack a little bit, do you want to start more so as the introduction of EIT1, or how you built the stack in the first place, or the selection of clients?
Yeah, so it all kind of happened at once. It was a very, very chaotic time because we were literally reinventing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It became very clear as we started doing some more research on our stack, and are we really, do we really have resilient clients? Are we helping them? Are we doing the best work we can do for them? And then we started, obviously internalizing all of the, well, what do you even base that on? Is it just stuff you think you need to be given to your client? Is it just tools you think you need to have in your stack? Or is there a framework? Is there something objective that you're going by? And we started learning a lot more about the frameworks that are out there, and NIST and CIS and other things. And so we decided to really center our efforts around CIS, and we started with IG1 and IG2, and we wanted to make our base product. We were the traditional MSP, right? I mean, we had a good, better, best plan. We trying to find creative ways to upsell and all of that stuff. One of the conferences I went to, there was a speaker, and they basically said, and I've heard this reiterated by multiple people since then, but if you know that your best plan is your best plan, why do you offer anything else? And I know there's a lot of bloodshed over this in our community today, but we really just internalized and adopted that, you know what, we're going to scrap all the other stuff. We're not going to offer traditional IT services anymore. We're going to remake ourselves in the mold of an MSSP, and that's all we're going to offer. And today that is it. We came up with a plan called EIT1, a product called EIT1, rebranded our product offering. We continued to service the old model clients while we were building this new stack out. And then again, our goal was in EIT1 to cover implementations groups 1 and 2, at least with our tool set. There's a lot more that goes into that. Everybody listening here probably shaking their head. They know it's not all about tools. It's about skill. It's about a lot of other things on the client side, documentation, policies, procedures, all of that. But we decided to build our tool stack around and our products offering around IG1 and IG2. And then we kind of rolled IG3 into our compliance offering that we add on. That's the only thing we sell extra now, is our compliance module, and you can bolt that on as an additional piece. But you got to understand this too. For us back in that time, we had not iterated. Like I said, we had pretty much kept a static stack, and we were way behind the market. I still believe in some ways we still are. But we were way behind the market in changing our pricing, changing our model, changing what we offered. And so we had this, once we realized all the things we were doing wrong, and we realized we were losing money and probably would have been going out of business within the next year or two, we realized we had to change, and we realized it was going to be painful. And trying to figure out a way to go to market and tell our clients, hey, it's us. It's not you, it's us. We've failed you in this area. We have not been raising our prices. We didn't have contracts with built-in renewal increases or anything like that. And so we had a big challenge ahead of us. We had to go, literally, it's going to triple our prices to our clients. And so we figured out, next step is, okay, how do we start? We know we have to do this. We don't have a choice. It's not only for our benefit, it's for the client's benefit. And you got to get comfortable. First of all, I think it was the adoption. It was internalizing that what we were doing was right. It wasn't. We're not fluffing something or inflating something. This is literally what our clients need, and we became true believers in that. And I think that's foundational. If you don't believe that what you're doing is right, you're going to sound like a shyster when you go to sell the product. But if you really believe it, if you've internalized that, and you know this is the best thing for the clients, it makes it a lot easier to have a little bit more boldness in your decision making. And so that's what we did. We decided to take our biggest clients, a couple of them. We took a handful of our very largest clients and said, you know what, we might as well go for the biggest first. And we did. We went up to them and started educating them, talking to them. We had a couple of meetings just through, back at that time, it was through virtual meetings, and then we actually were able to turn it into a face-to-face. And to our shock and amazement, most of those clients were not only signed on with us, but they were grateful. They said, we've been hearing about this from our cyber insurance company. We've been hearing about this through other means, especially in the regulated space. And they were wondering how long it was going to take us to actually start offering that stuff. So we were pleasantly surprised with the response we received for that first round.
Excellent. I love the story because, it's not that you picked up the story in the last 3 months or the last 6 months. It's like, here's how you sell confidently. And here's how I'm building my book of business, and boom, boom, boom. It seems so simple. It's the inner transformation first. It's what you had to do to really get up to spec and get caught up, to your point. And then to do that, you had to really hyper focus and build that confidence off of something that was real and tangible, and your own faith and belief in the product and the better service, and not some kind of fluffy sense. And so, and I love the order of operations of, let's just take it on the chin. Let's try this out and start from the big and go down and work to your favor.
Go big or go home. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, in many ways you did swing for the fences, but, and I do love the notion of transformation. So, did you want to fast forward a little bit, or is there more that you think that, a partner there that's saying they're still trying to unpack it? It's like, well, is it time for me to really transform? Is this an iterative process? Do I start to roll things out, or do I kind of go big or go home?
So I first of all, let me say this, probably should have said this in the beginning. We're if you're looking for a partner that's got it all figured out and is the authority on this, we're not it. We're still learning. We're still figuring stuff out. We're just like most of the people that are watching here today. We are not private equity based. We were a small IT company, small team. It was a big risk to decide to change and go this route. Right. I can promise you this: if you first educate yourself and you really understand the risks, not only to your clients but also to you. And then you've got, I mean, if you're an owner, if you're an owner founder, you've got the responsibility of all of those staff members that are working for you as well. And in today's world where we're at now with litigation and legislation and all the the ways MSPs are getting wrapped up in all of that conversation, it's just a matter of time. And one client that you decided to take on because you were hungry, even though you knew they weren't the right fit for you, they could be the undoing of your whole organization, and they can put your staff out of work as well. And so when you internalize all that and truly believe it, it literally kind of dispels some of the fear, because you don't have a choice anymore. It's really not. It's not a matter of I'm just doing this to be greedy and make money. It's a matter of no, I'm actually. I'm awake to the fact that we have to do this. And client, whether client X, whether you're a small donut shop on Main Street or you're a massive company with a lot of compliance regulations or compliance requirements, it's for everybody. And I think you don't have to be a big MSP, but you do need to be a mature MSP. No matter what size you are. You can mature. You can actually start to do these things, even if you're a one-person owner right now with wearing all the hats. You can choose whether or not you're going to cover all these bases or not, and that is a choice. So when we made that choice, I'll end with this section with this. We decided to go to our biggest clients, and then we decided that was probably. That took us about 3 to 4 months to get through our largest clients, just to have all those conversations and do it well. And the way we approached it was we just went out and actually started educating them all the things we had learned. Right. And we started showing them the frameworks. And we said, look, and I don't know if y'all have ever seen the book from Sunil Yu, the cybersecurity matrix, cyber defense matrix. That was huge. I actually went to see him in conference we're at a Boom, and it was really revolutionary to see how he used the frameworks to actually paint the picture for the C-levels and stuff like that. And knowing what to say and how to frame it so they see the bottom line impact to their business should something occur, when something occurs. And then the fact that it's rolling up and it's coming back upstream to MSPs now. Our clients got it. They knew we were having to protect ourselves. And they were, again, like I said, they were grateful. What we decided to do with the remaining clients, we haven't worked through all of them yet, but we just did decide to sunset our original product, Proactive MSA. And so it is sunsetting in December of this year. And that's kind of pushing the envelope with all of our other clients that we haven't yet onboarded with EIT1. It's giving them a little bit of time to absorb it, giving us more time to educate. And there'll be some that walk away, and that's fine. We ran our business for way too long accepting any and all comers. Right. And I'm unapologetic now about turning people away. If they're not a right fit, that's fine. It's not a personal thing. It's just that we're not in alignment. So you move on.
Yep. We're going to talk about fit and alignment a lot. And I love that idea. Maybe this is novel to some, that your stack, that your MSP service could be a product line of sorts. I don't want to put words in your mouth or anything, but you can sunset your prior offering to folks, and you can, as after you've created a new one, and then you're allowed to do that. It's not like, because in the back end of, well, I'm still using the same RMM, I'm still using the same PSA. Like, what is it? It is your offering. That is your service to the SMBs and end users and clients, and that's totally within a reasonable amount. And so I love that we've gotten to this section, which is I think probably a lot of people don't fathom, maybe don't talk about, or it's just not it's not something as they think about their segmentation, maybe they're not thinking about the right way, that there's not only offense when it comes to selling, when you're trying to land new clients, and you want the best fit and you want to maximize profits and things like that, but one bad client can bring the whole stack down. So could you dive into that aspect a little bit more? It's not just about best fit or what's easier to sell or what's easier to maintain, but it's almost like you need to play defense with your own clients that you're winning.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's the thing about becoming a mature MSP, right? At first, when I first started, I would drive 100 miles to change somebody's mouse out if they wanted me to, if they were going to pay me. Cause you're literally trying to put food on the table, right. And this is, there'll be a different perspective, right? Like I said, if there's an MSP that started by being acquired or through acquisitions or whatever, or just by acquiring other MSPs, it's a little bit different. But if you start as a owner operator, and a lot of, I think a good majority of the people in the MSP community still right now, even with M&A taking all of the auction out of the room, I think there's a lot of technicians that just started their own companies. And that's exactly what I was. I was a technician that decided to become an entrepreneur. And there's a learning curve there. So what we get with that is you get great tech, right? We can do the work, but then it's where you suffer is your company actually suffers with the strategy and the business side of things. And I said this to somebody the other day. There's a lot. Everybody loves a mountaintop. Everybody loves to see the vista from the top of the mountain, and almost everybody in a normal lifetime is going to see a vista or two. But those people, and most of the time, you're not really enthralled with the hike. Right. But but the people who see mountaintop after mountaintop after mountaintop, those are the people who fall in love with the process. They fall in love with hiking, and they want to see how much further they can go faster. And they really work on fine tuning the process. And that's been the metamorphosis for us. After all of that, I realized, okay, now we got to start segmenting our groups internally. And I really have to start withdrawing from the day-to-day tech work completely and becoming pretty much just a business owner. I've got to get good at business. I was good at tech. I need to get good at business now. And then figuring out how to do that specifically in an MSP is unique. And I've mentioned this to you before, but I think I owe a lot of credit to the community. This community is awesome. And it was to our detriment that I basically backed out of the community for the first 5 to 6 years of owning this business, didn't go to conferences, didn't stay connected to vendors, didn't really dive into those relationships. And there's so much there. There's so much knowledge, and so many people wanting to be able to pour into you and into your business. And so when we got reconnected, it was a force multiplier. It put rocket fuel in our trajectory. And we realized some of the things that we had not been accounting for properly, not been doing properly inside the business. And we're still working on fine tuning those today, getting our SOPs fully, I don't know if you'll ever have them fully built out, but at least very well fleshed out. And so anyway, I have learned to fall in love with the process, and it wasn't easy because I hate sales. I hate a whole bunch of stuff about business, right? But I've learned to start to love it, and because I see the value that it adds to my team, my staff, and my clients. And it's just as important to me as doing good tech now.
I'm sure a ton of people in this session today can relate to your thing. Selling with confidence, step one. Recognize that you hate selling, right? For many of you out there, this is not how you started your business. You were the practitioner, you were the guru, the tech person that was helping neighbors and friends, and then made it into a business. And now you have to kind of do the yucky part. And so to fall in love with the process, it's, I mastered this, now onto that. Now I need to master the operations. If we take a half step back, what was that order of operations? So sort of you were doing the services, then you had this a bit of a wake up call, epiphany, like, okay, I really need to up my level. Then you were sort of I guess almost sort of like the evangelist to your team of like, this is the standard we have. I'm going to paint this vision. Here's the level of service quality and security that we're going to adhere to, and this is what it's going to be like. And you're really driving that vision. And then was it into the service calibration, and then into those top clients, and then into sales? Kind of just walk it back for
Yeah.
folks that are at this decision, one of these decision points, for that next vista.
So it was sheer and utter fear that started the process of having one of those moments, waking up and not being able to respond to the volume of requests coming in, and not having a written process and all of that. That was the initial catalyst that started it. And then as we started to go, okay, we've got to come up with a plan. But what kind of a plan? We had to educate ourselves on what needs to go into a good plan, incident response plan. And we decided our first approach was to write our own incident response plan and make it publicly available to our clients. We don't put it on our website or anything, but we offered it to our clients. Anybody who wanted it could have a copy of it. That one act alone will drive a lot of adoption and a lot of thought and then beyond that, okay, now we have the plan, but do we have all of the tools we need? Do we have all of the right parts in place to do it? And that's when I started reassimilating our stack. And it became pretty clear that, okay, we're barely making it as it is with our simple stack. There's no way I can keep the prices the same. And it became quickly apparent we were going to not only have to double, but we're going to triple our prices if we're going to still make profit and be able to provide this service long-term into the future. And then we realized we're going to have to change. We can't do what we did before. I'm pretty much a case study for what not to do, right? I did it all wrong to start out. We had a set price. We realized, okay, that price can't stay set anymore. I mean, inflation alone dictates that you need to have increase in your pricing year over year. Right. And so, so figuring out the pricing. And then when we realized we were going to have a whole new product and we knew what our new pricing needed to be, we have to figure out a sales process. We have to figure out how to go to our clients and do this without running them all off. Because you can go selling fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and it'll just run them all away. Or you can go to them with objective, be a storyteller, tell them the story that you've learned. If it's compelling enough for you to feel this way about it, or that we felt that way about it, then we can find a way to make it compelling enough for each of our clients. And that was the route we took. We just try to tell stories about other people in the world, and then other people more closely in our community where they had been breached or where they have problems. And where we could have mitigated that had we followed the right framework. And so that's how that all came about. And then after we had gotten to that plateau, within just a month or so, I realized, okay, I really need to be looking into a peer group. And so I started sampling peer groups. And from those simple samples, I realized there's a lot of financial stuff that I'm not doing right, not accounting for things well, things areas where we could pick up some extra leverage and enhancements. And so, we realized that at that point that I have to change. I can't be doing this work. There's just too much here on the outside to do this all well. There's a lot of administrative stuff that's not tech stuff. It's literally just administrative stuff. So that was the evolution. It started with fear. We wanted to be sure that we had a plan, what it would take to enact that plan, and then how do you sell that plan was kind of the trajectory.
Gotcha. With all the admin stuff in the background. I love your sort of Thomas Edison analogy there. Just got to fail 1,000 times with the light bulb to make the one that's going to work. So, let's talk through some of those early conversations. So was it really important to differentiate the packaging of the new bundle? Was it less about that? It was more about the education piece of like, hey, we've been learning so much more about this space, and there's more frameworks and resources for us to draw on, and we've really anchored ourselves around this kind of thing. When did your decision maker clients, when did their eyes light up? Like, what part of that conversation were they like, okay, I'm seeing what you're seeing?
No, that's a good point. So you got to know your clients. You got to know what really animates them and motivates them. And we made a conscious choice, obviously, to be sure we were talking to the right people when we went to. That's step number one. If your point of contact isn't the decision maker, or maybe they're just an adjunct decision maker, don't just go have that conversation with them. And we've done that once, and it didn't go well because they almost never repeated up the chain well. At least not like you feel like you could.
The game of
so,
telephone takes over, and that's you
yes.
do not sell confidently to a receptionist, I think, is the takeaway here. So yeah.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And so we got the right people in the room, and then we went, and depending on who we were talking to and what we thought animated them, we would lean into those areas. Most of them we started out with just a hey, here's what's changed. We just want you to know here's what's changed. And we started with litigation, legislation, and compliance. There are three major things where the ground has shifted underneath the MSP's feet, or underneath all business owners' feet, in the last, definitely in the last decade, probably a lot in the last 5 years. And so we, and that pretty much got them all shaking their heads, at least in agreement, because they are all hearing it for, like I said, cybersecurity, all that stuff, insurance. They're hearing all of this. So it got them shaking their heads. And then some of them, it was, we would talk more about the business impact of the bottom line, because some of them don't really care about all the stuff that's going on in the world. They just care about how it affects their bottom line. So we would talk to them about the fact that, we had a couple say that, oh, our data is not of interest to a threat actor. And I'm like, well, no, it's not, but it's of interest to you. And you really care about your data, and the threat actors know that. And so they're going to come after you, and they're going to hold your data for ransom. And you need to be able to show that you've done your diligence in protecting yourself, because you definitely wouldn't want to put up on a billboard on the street somewhere all your clients' private information and have to defend why that data got out there when it's in your custody. Right. And so just it takes time. You can't go in with commission breath or desperate or anything like that. It's really just a change in the way the world has evolved, and we can't keep doing business that way and expect to stay around and be in business much longer. And if we can't stay in business much longer, Mr. Customer, you're not going to be able to stay in business much longer if you really get one of these terrible events to happen to you and you're not prepared, you're not ready. And that drove all kinds of extra conversations around cyber insurance, helping clients start to connect with cyber insurance, cyber warranties, other things. So there's a myriad of ways this has taken off in different ways we might not have expected. Yeah. But you got to start with the conversation. And here's what I would say, and I know I'm droning on, but here's what I would say. Just start. I mean, try to start well, but if you if you let perfection be the enemy of the good, you're gonna miss it, and some bad events possibly gonna happen. But also, you're never gonna. I don't think you're ever really gonna get there if that's your approach. Right. Become a true believer, and if you're not a true believer yet, don't even try and sell it. Maybe sell your business to someone else who is. Because I really think we all are doing a detriment to ourselves and to our clients and to the community at large when we sell based on price, or when a client says, hey, I don't really need that. I know it's in your stack, but could you peel that out and lower our price? Our answer is no. We have this stack for a reason. And I get it, but I'm not gonna sell just based on price anymore, because it's a race to the bottom. It's a commodity-driven conversation, and we want to be relational. And thankfully, that's the one thing. If we were doing anything well, that I think we did well, at least to some degree, we had relationships with our clients. We were in their faces. We had built in. I'm sorry, I keep drawing on, but we had built in a 1 hour on-site visit every month with all of our contracts, free. Whether they wanted it or not, it was a 1 hour on-site visit. It was just to come shake their hand. We told them we were just going to go through your closets and listen for fan noises and anything that we couldn't pick up with an automated alert or something like that.
That's funny.
But it kept us in front of them every month, rather than just seeing a bill. They also saw a face, and I think that helped keep that relationship going. And so when we did go back and have these conversations, it wasn't like we were coming out of the blue just asking for money. We had been in their presence, and I think that's key.
That's super key. I maybe did not know that detail of the story. I think that's absolutely critical. So, we can learn from your experience and learn from the iteration. But to have that as part of the recipe, I think is so critical, because if someone else were to turn around and kind of copy this playbook and start doing it, and they just don't have maybe that relational capital that you've had, maybe start to precede that a little bit before you really get ready to roll out something new and have a new offering and prepare to have some tough conversations. Maybe start to ramp that up and just really get in that trusted advisor, that trusted relationship mode first, and then kind of get to that level.
And if you're not putting out content in all your social medias and your newsletters and anything else that you send out, if you're not doing that kind of stuff, find ways to start doing that now, so that you have, so you can at least point to, hey, you know all that stuff you probably didn't read, but you saw in those emails. We're not coming up with this out of the blue. This has been a process, and you have that, kind of legitimizes you a little bit to before you start that conversation. But Everybody's situation is going to be slightly different, obviously, and depending on how they've been doing business and all of that. But I definitely recommend don't wait too much longer, because the market is already there, and in many ways it's already past this point. So we are at the point now where we're iterating our stack. We just added 2 more. I think this may shock some people, but I counted it up the other day. We're at 31 layers of vendors in our stack right now. And it's not all about the stack. The stack's awesome. I think I've told you before, I could go, I could go to Home Depot.
Let's hear it. Yeah.
I could buy out everything there, all the tools and all the raw materials, and I'll still won't be a master carpenter. I won't even be a carpenter. It's not about what you own. It's about what the skills you possess. Now, those other things are very important after you've got the skill, but make sure you start by getting the skill and internalizing all this stuff. And then you can go to market with an actual, a tool stack or a stack that makes sense, that matches your skill set. But you got to understand the why behind what you're trying to accomplish, and not just the MSP in a box toolkit that you just go out there and say, hey, I'm going to put this in the market. That's not internalizing it. You have to internalize. And then you just got to be honest with your clients. If they smell BS, they're gonna tell you, and you're not gonna emotionally connect with them. And people make this. I don't care what anybody says. People buy out of an emotional decision.
Absolutely.
Do they like you? Did you get them connected emotionally to what you're trying to get across? And that's the question. And like whatever client you're going to see, that's the question you'd ask yourself. How do I get this person? What means something to this person? And how do I get them emotionally connected to what we're about here and what we're becoming?
Yeah. And so what would you say to the notion you're selling trust, you're not selling cyber insurance, connectivity, IT, and to what degree are you selling your trust in
from 2011 on, that when I started hiring, it was actually 2012 or 2013 when I hired my first person. But from the very first hire on, the very first thing I tell the guys that come to work for us is, hey, I know we're an IT company, but we don't really sell IT services. We sell trust. We sell confidence. What a client wants to know when they're calling for the help, whether it's the help desk or whether it's a project or whatever, what they want to know is that they can trust. They're probably calling in a panic. They're probably calling because something's down, or they need help, or they're frustrated. What they need to know is you need to be, you need to be empathetic, and you need to, whether you know the answer to the question they're asking or not, you need to make them think you do, and then consult with the team. And I don't mean lie to them. I just mean instill trust. And because that's really what we sell. I mean, obviously it's in the area of IT services, but of course, I think trust is a huge, huge deal. It is the be all end all.
Yes. You have to have the expertise to be able to build that trust. It's not like you can just kind of make up this shell of an MSP and, hoodwink people. You got to deliver. That is part of the trust, but yeah.
Yep. And you'll find out very quickly whether you've built that trust or not if you triple your prices to your clients. Or if you attempt to. If
you've ever wanted to run an experiment, just go to your top client and say, hey, got this new thing for you. It's called One, and it's going to cost you 3x. And here you go.
Right.
To backtrack a little bit, sorry, as the marketer, I kind of got to dive into this. I love the way that you bucketed. I'm going to mix it up. Legal, compliance. I forget your three big things: litigation,
legislation, regulation. And compliance. Yeah.
So then was that congruent in your social media when you said, just be really active and be in your community and make sure that you've got this really good flywheel of content and value addition? Was that aligned, or that was a little bit too tricky to do at first as well?
So there was a confluence of things happening. It was really a flurry of things happening all at one time, because we realized just how far behind we were. And it was a little bit chaotic here for that first year when we were really building everything out. But yes, we went to our clients with real examples of legislation in the state of South Carolina, legislation in the U.S. Capitol. I think the Biden White House put out several things during that time that, at least they had, I think, the initial executive proclamation about cybersecurity came out, and then I think he's had one or two since then. We just literally showed those things to the people, and then we showed them examples of the threats. I think MGM was one of our favorites at the time, and then we brought it closer to home. We have some home-baked stories of literally people in our community where they had wanted to engage with us, but decided not to take our security services. And then they called us about a year later because they had a breach, and they wanted us to walk them through, back them out of that, which we were able to do. But, being able to show them, demonstrate to people that, look, it's not like, I'll be honest with you. When I first started this company, I did not want to sell on fear. I hated selling anyway, but I really hated selling on fear because it just wasn't as prevalent as it is today. The threats, but with ever since ransomware has become a real thing, it's just very prevalent today. It's happening all around us all the time. Session token hijacking, all of that stuff, business email compromise. It's just everywhere now. And now with AI, that was another kicker that really helped us, is to say, okay, all of this already existed, but now you got the emergence of AI.
Yeah, supercharged.
And we used AI to really drive home the fact that our stack will probably change. So this stack that we're selling you right now, if you decide to jump on it, well, guess what? It might change by next year because we've got new emerging threats. And we use AI as an example. We may have AI security features built into our platform by next year. If so, then we're going to iterate our stack, and we'll let you know that. But we're not going to keep a static stack anymore. Those days are behind us. We can't do that. We're not doing you a good service if we do that. And it's that confidence, knowing what you're talking about, knowing it's real and knowing it's best for the client. It comes through if you believe it. And I know I've said that a lot of times, but it really comes down to, you've got to internalize and believe what you're saying, or it's gonna come across thin and hollow.
Yeah.
So.
You famously said before, you sort of fired some clients, I'm not sure directly, or you knew that this offering probably was not going to be for them.
Yep.
Do you either want to talk about that, or ones where you were a little bit more in the bubble and you didn't know how long they're going to stay on the now about to sunset solution versus that? And I'm just curious about the really tough ones where you had to stick to your guns and be like, we're aligned. This is our segment. This is what we're going to do. And for those that are not with us, so be it.
And make no doubt, there will be those, especially if you started your company like I started this one, with all comers, taking all comers. I mean, unless the stars magically aligned and I just somehow struck it right with all of those clients over those first several years, it's absurd to think that you won't have clients that are misaligned with your new trajectory. And you're going to have to say goodbye to them, and you're going to have to be okay with that. And we were so convinced that this is the right move for us. I think it's the right move for every MSP out there, to be honest with you. I don't think there's a single MSP out there that ought not be selling cybersecurity services as a default. I personally, and I know people will disagree with me, I don't believe in selling just IT services anymore. It is not in the best interest of clients to just have IT services, IT support, and not have cybersecurity services at a minimum. So we sell that as a default, but you got to be careful. You got to be comfortable with losing them. And we have lost, I think we've lost it probably 20%. But here's the cool thing. Our profit margin, net profit margin, is growing, and it's growing much faster than it ever grew before. We actually have a profit margin now. And that's amazing. And so we're doing more work for fewer clients, making more profit. You got to be okay with the fact that you're going to jettison some clients, because that will happen. We've had a couple. Matter of fact, we had one just last month. By the end of last month, we said goodbye to them. And there was another MSP here in the area, much larger MSP than us, and they were able to take them on for a lot less. And I was unapologetic about that. It doesn't bother me, because they're not offering cybersecurity as a default. They're offering it as a bolt-on, and they allowed this customer to come on with them with just IT services. That's their choice to make. I believe my responsibility to my clients, my staff, and my company demand that I not do that. I think it's bad for the end client as well. So we are okay with losing clients. And then that goes into the next question you may be about to ask is, okay, how about new clients as you go to market now? How are you filtering out the misalignments? And we do that in almost the first phone call. We're not again, you have to be unapologetic. I unapologetically tell them we are not an IT service company. We are a cybersecurity company first and foremost. We provide all the things that an IT support company does, but we're a cybersecurity oriented firm. And we need you to know that and be willing to, and we don't want to argue with you about everything. We're not going to come to you and upsell. We've got this price. This is your price unless it changes. But we need you to adopt what we suggest. And if we find ourselves trying to cajole or force you to adopt what we suggest, then that's not the right fit for us. We need to find you a better firm to maybe link up with. And we don't do that, but we tell them to do that. It's been very well received. I haven't had any that have bristled at that approach. We haven't always closed every deal, and that's fine. We know that is going to happen, but we're not inheriting problems that we don't need to have anymore either. If you take on that client to get that extra MRR, and then all you're doing is wasting your time having to fight and constantly prove why they need to do that. you've made a mistake. You could save yourself so much trouble just by weeding those out right in the beginning. So our very first phone call, we're talking about those things and trying to ascertain, are they just giving us lip service, or do they really believe us? They're going to trust us.
Yeah, if it's not congruent, the money's coming in one door, it's just going to go out the other in terms of your staff and your peace of mind and just other areas as well. Yeah. And then, so you have to back that up with actual assessments, and you need to go into their environment and see what's what. It's not just sort of, vision wise and philosophy wise, we aligned, education wise. I mean, you kind of, people have to try out, I guess, to join up with you.
Yeah. So we typically have a phone call to start with to kind of weed out where people are. And we had one out of a couple states away that called, and they were in a situation where their MSP was telling them to go pound sand, and they needed a replacement pretty quickly. And it was pretty much that same conversation right from the beginning. I get it, guys. I know y'all are in a rush, but I can't rush this. I really want this to be done right and done well. We'll take care of you if you need a little bit of time to figure things out. But here's our process, and you're going to follow our process. I'm not going to follow yours. Yeah. And I think that's a key for any sales. I mean, you know sales a heck of a lot better than I do, but you've got to be in control and set that standard from the beginning. I really believe the way you go into, and this is real quick, I know we're running up on time. Cesar Millan, y'all probably know Cesar Millan. When he introduces two dogs, or when he introduces a dog to a new family or whatever, he's got a very painstaking process for that first interaction, because that first interaction sets the tone for everything that comes after. If you don't set the tone with clients in the beginning that you are the thought leader to set that trust expectation, then you're going to have problems the whole relationship. And we would rather waste our time taking those initial calls and losing rather than taking on anybody and having to spend countless hours after the fact remediating a bad client.
100%. You can't reset those expectations. So Dennis, I'm not going to call you the SMB whisperer. I think you clearly shown that skill. So I guess we are running, we're about on time for this session, but to bring us home, I know that you're really big on talking about the choice in vendors and being demanding of your vendors. How does that come into play as well?
So, we're MSPs. Unless you're a massive MSP with your own NOC and SOC, you're going to sell cybersecurity services, to sell compliance. You're going to have vendors. You're going to have to partner with other people to force multiply. We all know that. So picking the right ones matter a lot. What their community is like. You guys are awesome. Obviously, y'all know that. But it's been people like you guys that think outside the box, that innovate, that create a product that from the MSP's perspective, provide support afterwards, and then provide things like this. Guys, if you're out there listening, again, I'm nobody. I am absolutely nobody. And most of you that are watching probably do all of this better than we do here at EIT Networks. And that's great. That's awesome. Don't be hesitant to go out there and share with other people what you've learned. If you get an opportunity with Axcient or any other vendor, man, take it, jump at it, because you'll be surprised at how much you learn just by preparing for things like this, and just how much other people will value what you have to say. If you're just starting, same thing. People want to know your perspective as a new MSP in the market. So take the mic, jump on stage, do this. Absolutely. You don't have to be a amazing person to do so.
Come to a lounge, come to a partner webinar. We'd love to have you on. And Dennis, you are great at what you do, and you do network really well. But everyone has expertise, and sometimes people are maybe a little bit kind of looking around the room as like, oh, I don't know as much about that person. And you're just a great advocate for the community as a whole, and for individual partners in the community of like, just go out there and say what you want to say and get your point across. And we're all learning from each other. It is a very, very collaborative community, and I don't care which community you're talking about. They all have tons of value, and they're great. Awesome. Right. Cool. Well, to bring us home, I know that these takeaways are great. I'm really curious, in a sort of quick fire way, did you pitch EIT1 within a peer group? Like, did you just first start with other partners, and you went for it?
No, cool. I knew that we had to do it. It was an internal decision. I'm the one the peer group's not lying in bed awake with me at night, right? It's as the business owner, I knew what was weighing on my mind. I knew where our shortcomings were, and so I was fully convinced in my own mind something had to change. I didn't know exactly what needed to happen next, but I knew we had to do something to prepare for that rainy day. So once you get to that point, if you're not there already, it naturally follows that you're just going to start banging down the doors to try and find out what that needs to look like.
Right, right. Anything about what's next? You told me at a conference kind of recently about some staff being added. Anything that
Yeah.
is exciting and new for you?
Yeah, so I'll share this here, and maybe I can get some pointers from people in the community real quick, though. Yeah, if y'all want to connect, well, we'll get to that part in a minute, maybe. But so yeah, we've just hired 2 extra staff members here recently in the last couple of weeks. But what's exciting is we are starting a sorry about that. We are starting a we want to give back to the community. And we realize there's a huge gap between people looking to start in cybersecurity and the people who maybe don't have they've got a certification or 2, but they don't have a really good way to get in and get experience. So what we're offering is a 6-week course. We're doing it Tuesdays and Thursdays starting in November. It's a 6-week course, totally free of charge to anybody in the community that shows an aptitude that's into cybersecurity and is considering it for a potential career. We're going to give them a completely free course for those 6 weeks. And then after those 6 weeks are up, we're going to choose 2 out of that course to offer a paid internship for 6 months. That'll awesome. They'll get them some resume cred. And it'll be a way for us to start. We realize the gap in the community, right? There's so many jobs that are unfilled in the cybersecurity community, and it's just growing. I think we've all got to do a little bit better job of getting people fed into the supply chain of talent in this industry. And so it's a way for us to kind of get back to our local community and provide those a leg up or a lift up that may not have had it before.
That's incredible. All right. Well, with that, Dennis Cockrell, EIT Networks, it's always a pleasure, and I'm sure I'll see you very soon on the road again. Just wanted to make the note. Thank you so much. Join me for the next business session, Mastering IR and DR Plans and Delivering on RTO Promises. So now you can head to the main event lobby as well. And we have 2 tracks going on at the same time. You can see the full choice of upcoming sessions. We'll see you really soon. Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you.